There are 19 characters available in Granblue Fantasy Relink, 12 of which are recruitable with crewmate cards from the shop. So who do you go for first? Realistically, when looking for characters to play with for yourself, you can't really go wrong with any of them. The game has done a fabulous job of mixing and matching different playstyles while keeping each character feeling fresh and unique. But if you're not sure who to unlock, I do have two characters that I think will benefit you a great deal if you're not sure who to pick and you want a glowing endorsement from some random stranger on the internet that people will inevitably disagree with. When choosing a character to unlock, it's wise to not only bear in mind your ability to play a particular character, but also the CPUs, because if you're playing through the game on your own, then you have 3 CPU party members as well. Multiplayer obviously changes this, so for the purposes of this video, we're just talking about single player stuff, as well as the role that that character actually brings to the table. If you're playing through the story of any different, including the hidden one, it's also worth taking into account that the main character, who I'm going to refer to as Gran, is a mandatory addition to the team, so we'll look at how we want to build him later. Beyond picking a character for yourself to play, which should always be the highest priority, a strong second choice is always going to be somebody that can bring support capabilities to the table, and nobody does that better than Cagliostro. Now, full disclosure, I'm showing footage from my game here. I've not leveled Cagliostro all the way to the top, but I wanted to showcase exactly which skills I feel really benefit the player in terms of support. So if you want a CPU to take control of, she's going to be really good. And the first reason for this is going to be Phantasmagoria, the skill you can see on the screen here. So Phantasmagoria is an attack, defense, and critical hit rate buff for the entire party. And more importantly than that, it's actually a singular buff, which means it will stack with any other attack or defense or crit rate buffs. Cagliostro is also a really prominent healer as well. So you have Reinforce here, which is a typical AoE HP heal, but she also has a very unique healing capability in Rhizomata, which if you played FF14, that gave me the giggles just to think Sage for a second here. But Rhizomata is actually an AoE res that she can cast at range. So if you've got her in your party and she has this skill equipped, if you get knocked down, then you're going to find that you're getting up significantly quicker than you would have done without her. Not only does Cagliostro bring along the crazy powerful Phantasmagoria buff, which honestly, I would put her in my party just for that buff, she actually has some really nice offensive support capabilities as well. So Disruption is a spell that dispels a buff from any foes in an AoE blast radius, so if you find you're up against bosses that like to buff themselves, you might want to bring this ability along. She also has the Mayhin Spear Trap, which is an attack down ranged attack that she can cast more than once, because some abilities in Granblue Fantasy Relink you can cast multiple times before they actually go on a cooldown, and this attack happens to be one of those. So if you're struggling with taking too much damage, or if there's a boss that particularly wants their attack lowered, combining this with Phantasmagoria's defense buff, as well as perhaps another character who can reduce damage through the damage cut abilities, you'll find you're taking a lot less damage as well if you wanted to build her that way. Cagliostro also has other attacks as well, so she has Mimic Doll, which is basically a dodge attack that allows her to charge her triangle attack Collapse, which is a ranged attack quicker. So actually the two characters I'm going to talk about today have very similar properties in that they both operate in that way with charge attacks. So the charge sigil might be something that you want to consider, and as the game progresses into the end game, you'll also potentially pick up a sigil that makes it so that that particular attack actually inflicts defense down as well. So you find that she just kinda does everything from a support capability perspective. She does also have the ability to launch enemies in front of her, and that allows her to charge her collapse triangle attack faster, and then she also has Pain Train, which is just a typical dash attack. But I can't look at her and not see all of these amazing support capabilities: rezzing, healing, buffing, debuffing. She just kind of has it all, so it's hard to look at her and go, yeah, I can't not recommend her as an early choice. So the next character I want to talk about is Percival. Now, Percival is actually the character I ended up playing through the majority of the story with, as you can see by the fact that I've leveled him way higher than I have almost any other character except Siegfried, as I've played him a lot in post-game afterwards. But Percival I actually think is a fantastic early choice to pick up as well for numerous reasons. The first of which is the Rotoverbal, which I'm sure I'm going to butcher some of these pronunciations, so I apologise. The damage that comes off of this ability is gargantuan when placed correctly. So if you've got a break that's gone off, or the enemy is stunned or trapped for whatever reason, placing these fire coils in front of that enemy is going to do a crazy amount of damage. So if you're playing as Percival like I did, I would absolutely bring this ability along. But even if you don't play as him, he has a lot to offer in conjunction with Cagliostro that makes him a pretty great early pick as well. So I can't talk about Percival without discussing X-Sealer, which is an extraordinary debuff. So if you've played Granblue at all, you'll know that slow and status effects in this game are ridiculous. If you want more information on why, and other beginner's tips as well, I do already have a video out that explains a lot of why this is the case. But if you know already, Petrified is not only a slow, but it's also a defense drop as well. And because, like Phantasmagoria, it's a singular debuff, it stacks on top of other defense drops as well. So Cagliostro is able to do it in the late game. Gran is able to do it with Armor Break or Miserable Mist. You have loads of characters that have strong defense drops. Zeta has her own unique one that's specific to her that you could then combine with this and just make your opponent's defense fall through the floor. All while making it so that they can't move quick enough to stop you from absolutely wailing on them. Percival also has the decency to carry multiple buffs along with him as well, one of which is an attack and defense boost to the entire party. So these are generic buffs, so these won't stack with other attack and defense buffs ordinarily, but when you combine this and Phantasmagoria, you've got a massive offensive and defensive buff to your entire party with just 2 moves. And then Traumarite is a ability that's restricted to Percival himself, and it has quite a long charge time. Like, I used this a lot when I was playing him, and it does take a while, but if you start a fight with this, he can boost his strength by up to 70% based on how high his HP is. You played the demo, and you saw how Charlotta worked with 120% attack buff, and how crazy that was. This is just as crazy, because you also get supplementary damage by making it so that all of his hits do additional hits when you attack them. So you get crazy amounts of damage off of Percival in combination with all of his other abilities like Rotoverbal as well. That triggers everything. He has numerous different sort of charge attacks as well. His triangle charge attack is really powerful if you allow it to charge. Similarly to Cagliostro, it will charge quicker if you do it at the end of a combo. He's just got a lot of damage capabilities. He's very much an offensive support-based character. But if you want to play as him, and I do, you'll get a lot of damage from doing it that way too. So given that Gran or Jita, or whoever you've named the main character, is a mandatory addition to the team, I feel that we should talk about them as well. And unfortunately, I really don't enjoy playing as the MC in this game. I think that they are very good at teaching you the mechanics of the game, and they're certainly not bad by any means. In fact, they've got such a wide array of skills, more than any other character in the game, that you can play them pretty much however you want. My issue with them is that I find them extremely boring to play as, but if you have to have them in your team, you may as well make them useful, and there's plenty of reasons to do that. So the first thing I want to talk about here is the fact that he's actually very good at debuffing. So you have Miserable Mist here, which is an attack and defense drop on any enemies that get caught within the spell's radius. You do also have access to Armor Break, which is a singular kind of attack that does a defense drop, and the defense drop is bigger depending on what your arts level is when you activate it. It's a thing that's specific to Gran and Jita. They just have an arts level that is, as you're attacking, it gets higher level, then you spend that level on your skill. So you want to wait till you've hit the enemy a few times before you do it if you're playing yourself, but if the CPU is doing it, the AI is actually good enough that it will probably try and make sure it's got a high arts level before it starts using these abilities. You get defense drops, which obviously stack with X-Sealer from Percival if you want to use that. He does actually also have his own slow ability as well, so if you want to use that, then you can compound that with Percival. He has a Dispel, which, like Cagliostro, if you're up against enemies that like to buff themselves a lot, you can double up on that. He does also have just healing abilities as well, like Panacea is one that you start the game with very early on, also a healing skill, so you can compound that. Basically, what I'm saying is you can really kind of build Gran to complement whatever fight is going on. You've got your offensive support with Percival. You've got your more kind of all-rounder support with Cagliostro. Between those two and Gran, you're pretty set for anything. Rage is a 30% attack boost to the entire party if used correctly. You may not need this if you want to have it alongside Percival's attack and defense buff, but having more uptime on all of your buffs is never going to be a bad thing. And you could even choose to take Phalanx, which is a damage cut, so you take less damage from the party if you're struggling. Or you can just take more just attack debuffs or just attacks in general that deal high amounts of stun that allow you to get more link attacks off so that you can get to the point where Percival can deal crazy amounts of damage. Honestly, all that stuff I've just said is why I'm really enjoying this game, because the level of customization, party building, theory crafting that goes into this, I want to just keep playing around with all of these characters and the abilities they bring for ages. If you want to talk more GBR, feel free to click the link to my Discord server in the description box below and come and chat to us on there. I'd love to play more with you guys. Or if you want to, you can come and follow me on Twitch, where you can find me playing GBR a bugger ton, as much as other games that are coming out as well. But what about a fourth character? I mean, honestly, you could have those other three all be your CPUs and you just play whoever you want, and that's why I really like that particular setup, because you can play as anyone alongside those three. But what if you want to play Cagliostro, Percival, or Gran? Who's the best fourth character to take along? To be honest with you, anyone. Anyone kind of works. Your damage output's already pretty good, but if you wanted to, you could take somebody like Siegfried, who is just there to hit hard and fast and just do big numbers. Or you could take along somebody like Catalina, who has the ability to glaciate the enemy while also providing like extra damage, extra kind of healing if you really want it, or invulnerability through her light wall abilities. She's pretty solid, but not my first choice. Rosetta is also very unique in bringing poison to the party as well. Or you could just take, again, raw damage, more like somebody like Narmaya or Charlotta. I actually quite like Vayne as a choice for a fourth party member as a tank, because he has abilities like Rampart, which is like a bubble that grants invincibility to the entire party and can be built very much to be a tank. So if you've got characters that don't particularly get attacked, then you could bring him along to kind of make the enemies focus on him. EO is also a really strong choice if you just want somebody that's going to do crazy amounts of damage through the Starfall ability. I play online with a friend who plays EO a lot, and the damage that she can churn out is ridiculous, as well as having access to paralysis, so you can double up on the slow if you wanted to go that way. Honestly, you can do whatever you want. Those recommendations, so particularly just Percival and Cagliostro, are purely on the basis of playing on your own and getting to a point where you're comfortable enough with the game that you can make these experimentations for yourself. What combination of characters are you playing with at the moment? Who are you maining? I'm currently a Siegfried / Percival main, but I'm experimenting with some other characters as well. Comment down below with your favourite character in Granblue Fantasy Relink. If you're not entirely sure what to comment, then just type the word algorithm into the comments, because it helps me as a content creator, and I'm really trying to push Granblue Fantasy Relink on everyone because I need people to see how amazing this game is. So that's going to be all for today's video. As you can see, I've not even hit endgame yet in GBR, and I know that sigils are going to play a massive part in the game going forward. So as I get to play more, I'll probably make a proper sigils guide, more tips for like intermediate and advanced place or like end game stuff as well, but I have to get to that point. And I just kind of am talking about the discoveries I'm making with GBR as I'm making them. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the like button for notifications, or the bell for notifications on any future videos I'm making on GBR or Granblue Fantasy vs Rising. I know I talk about making fighting game videos a lot, but I'm a little scared to because it's not what I'm known for. As well as FF7 Rebirth, Persona 3 Reload, Yakuza Infinite Wealth. There's so many amazing games coming out that I really wanted to focus on GBR because I really think that people need to play this game. It's fantastic. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please do consider joining up on my Patreon, where you can get title cards and all sorts of extra benefits for you, just like all the lovely people you see on the screen. Thank you once again for watching, and hopefully I shall see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.